Now, I want to turn to some other troubling data recently out of the department. This time it's on the higher education side. New data from the department's student loan bank show that despite the availability of many repayment options to help students, we're still facing an avalanche of student loan defaults. When a student defaults, the bank hammers them, seizing wages, slamming their credit reports. But it seems that life isn't so hard for the servicers who get paid to manage those loans. So here's my question, Secretary King. The department announced a new competition for these servicing contracts, and I know you are looking to clean up these deals. Can you tell me what you're doing to make sure that the next round of negotiations creates some accountability for these companies so they actually help families who are struggling instead of just fattening their own bottom lines?
Yeah. So we are developing a new servicer contract and a new servicer structure that will involve a common platform with multiple servicers providing services through that platform. So borrowers will have a single entry point where they can get and submit information, but then servicers will compete on performance. One of the key things that we've done in that servicer contract recompete is built in a set of principles that implement the President's Student Borrowers Bill of Rights. Those principles were developed jointly with the Treasury Department and CFPB, and we think represent what good servicing should look like. So this contract will proceed in several stages. First, the identification of the platform provider, and then the identification of the servicers who will work on that platform. But we intend to ensure that servicers do a good job supporting students, and better than they've done.
Good. I'm very glad to hear this and this commitment on your part, but let me just put a finer point on this. What role should the company's political influence here in Congress or their connections to officials inside the student loan bank play in the selection process for these servicers?
None.
Good. Thank you. You know, 3 years ago, the head of the student loan bank testified in this committee that it was basically impossible to hold one of the biggest servicers accountable for breaking the rules because they were more or less too big to fail. And this has to stop. Past performance matters. If the department grants another massive new contract to a company with a track record of harming students and members of the military, then, or if the company is facing state AG and federal lawsuit investigations, then I think that's a serious problem. I know that you want real reform, and that means holding these student loan servicers accountable. I know that those companies have a lot of lobbyists right here on Capitol Hill, but the families and the students don't, and they need you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.